So in this video, we're talking about the transition step from what cytosol or cytoplasm to what mitochondria. So the purpose of why we break down our glucose molecules is to form ATP. But now we form ATP in the substrate level in step 7 and step 10. So now we want to use the energy currency, which is the NADH and FADH will form in TCA to enter into the electron transport chain to form what ATP. So the goal of glycolysis is also to enter the TCA circle to what form what ATP, the electron transport or chain. But this is very important. There must be enough supply of what oxygen. If there's less supply of oxygen, what happens? From step 10 it will go to what step 11, where we'll be forming what lactic acid. So the end stage of glycolysis, aerobic glycolysis, is what pyruvate. But if the oxygen reduced in the muscle, what happens? Pyruvate will form what lactic acid, which will build up in the muscle, decrease the pH, and what will happen? It will form what lactic acidosis. But the body corrects this lactic acidosis through the process of what Cori cycle, which we'll be talking in the subsequent part of our videos. So stick with us throughout. So if you are just joining us for this first time and you don't understand what we are talking about, make sure to go back and study and watch the glycolysis video, so to know how we reach to the formation of pyruvate, so you can move from here to form what TCA cycle. So also subscribe and turn on your post notification button so that when I drop any video, you'll be sure to be notified. So now let us jump right into the video on how pyruvate will be converted to what acetyl-CoA. So now what happens? Now we are about to transfer the pyruvate toward the mitochondria. So always know that 1 mole of glucose forms 2 moles of what pyruvate. So now once we have gotten pyruvate, what happens? Pyruvate is transferred into the mitochondria. Pyruvate is transferred into the mitochondria through the process of oxidative phosphorylation. I told you we need oxygen in this reaction. When pyruvate, or we call it pyruvic acid, is transferred to the mitochondria, what happens first? Because we want to show how it forms what acetyl-CoA, 2 moles of acetyl-CoA. But now this reaction, conversion, this transition step needs a multi-enzymatic complex reaction called what? Pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. This enzymatic complex reaction needs 3 basic enzymes. These enzymes are what? E1, E2, E3. The E1 is pyruvate dehydrogenase. The E2 is what? Dihydrolipoic transacetylase, and the E3 is what? Dihydrolipoic what? Dehydrogenase. So these 3 enzymatic complexes we are using to convert our pyruvate to what? Acetyl-CoA. Don't forget. So now, since we know these 3 enzymes, we also have coenzymes. We can also use majorly the vitamins, vitamin B1, B2, B3, B5, and some magnesium also can be used also in this reaction. So also pyridoxal phosphate, B6, can also be used in this reaction. So all these things makes possible the conversion of what? Pyruvate to what? Acetyl-CoA. So the first reaction, we are utilizing what? E1, which is pyruvate dehydrogenase. And pyruvate dehydrogenase undergoes what we call oxidative decarboxylation to do what? To condense what? TPP, thiamine pyrophosphate, to what? Pyruvate. So what? Pyruvate dehydrogenase condenses what? TPP with what? Pyruvic acid or pyruvate to form what? Acetyl TPP. So the enzyme pyruvate dehydrogenase condenses what? TPP with what? Pyruvate, but in the same time removing what? CO2 to form what? Acetyl TPP. So we can also call it what? Alpha hydroxy ethyl what? TPP, thiamine pyrophosphate. So when we have used this E1 already, what happens? We also do this same. Now the acetyl TPP now is now condensed with the oxidized form of what? Lipoamide. So the acetyl TPP is condensed with what? The oxidized form of what? Lipoamide to form what? Acetyl what? Lipoamide, displacing or removing what? Vitamin B1 called TPP. So now we have formed acetyl lipoamide. What happens? Acetyl lipoamide utilizes E2 now. What is E2? Dihydrolipoic transacetylase. So when this enzyme catalyzes the transfer of CoA-SH to what? Acetyl lipoamide. Dihydrolipoic transacetylase coordinate the transfer of CoA-SH to the acetyl lipoamide. So when CoA-SH is transferred to acetyl lipoamide, the lipoamide will be displaced. which will be converted from the oxidized form to the reduced form. Now, first of all, I told you that the lipoamide is in its oxidized form when it added to what? Acetyl TPP. So now when dihydrolipoproyl transacetylase coordinate the transfer of CoASH to what? Acetyl lipoamide, what happens? We will displace lipoamide, which means we will convert it from its oxidized form to its reduced form. Then we will now form what? Acetyl-CoA. Now the enzyme here, don't forget, is dihydrolipoproyl transacetylase. Now we have a reduced form of lipoamide, and we have what? Acetyl-CoA. In this same reaction, now the reduced form of acetyl lipoamide will be converted to the oxidized form of the acetyl lipoamide. Also, now when it is converted from the reduced form to oxidized form, we use what we call dihydrolipoproyl dehydrogenase. So if it's converted from the reduced form to the oxidized form, now we are using dihydrolipoproyl dehydrogenase. So we utilize what? NAD plus to what? NADH. We utilize what? NAD plus to NADH. But before we utilize NAD plus to NADH, first of all, we will do what? We will drop off again FADH2. FADH2 will be oxidized to what? FADH2 will be oxidized to what? FAD plus. FADH2 will be oxidized to FAD plus. Then the hydrogen in FADH2 will be dropped to NAD plus to form what? NADH. Don't forget to convert the reduced form of lipoamide to the oxidized form of lipoamide. What will happen? We'll oxidize what? FADH to FAD plus. We'll oxidize FADH2 to FAD plus. Then as we are oxidizing it, we are dropping down the hydrogen inside NAD plus to form what? NADH. It's very simple. You see it in the written form in the diagram we are giving you here, so you'll be appreciating it there. The enzyme here is dihydrolipoproyl dehydrogenase. So in this reaction, we are forming 2 moles of what? NADH. But we utilize what? FADH2. FADH2 dropped its hydrogen to NAD plus to form what? NADH. Don't forget. So we have used the 3 enzymes into this reaction to form what? Acetyl-CoA. In the energy profile, we told you that we are forming what? When 1 mole of glucose is forming 2 moles of pyruvate. 2 moles of pyruvate forms 2 moles of Acetyl-CoA. And that Acetyl-CoA now, information of Acetyl-CoA, we are forming what? 2 NADH. And those 2 NADH we are forming, what happens? They are giving us how many ATP? They are giving us 6 ATP. Why? Because 1 NADH is giving us 3 ATP rather. 1 NADH is giving us 3 ATP. Then 2 NADH will give us 6 ATP. So in the transition step from pyruvate to Acetyl-CoA, we are forming 6 ATP. Now in the regulation of the transition step, and we use a key enzyme. This key enzyme we use here is pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, which we use in the transition step. So what stimulates and what inhibits pyruvate dehydrogenase complex? Again, now what happens? The presence of insulin, because in the phosphorylation reaction of glucose to form pyruvate, what happens? We need insulin. So insulin stimulates was phosphatase enzyme. Phosphatase enzyme convert inactive pyruvate dehydrogenase complex to what? The active form of pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. So don't forget, insulin stimulates phosphatase enzyme, which convert inactive PDH, pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, to what? Active pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, which helps us to what? To stimulate the production of acetyl-CoA, and acetyl-CoA helps us to form what? TCA cycle. So very, very simple. But when you are fasting, during fasting starvation, we stimulate glucagon, and glucagon stimulates cyclic AMP, and cyclic AMP stimulates what? Protein what? Kinase, and the kinase reaction here inhibits pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. So glucagon inhibits by stimulating protein kinase, and protein kinase convert what? Active PDH, which is pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, to inactive pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, inhibiting what? The transition what? Step. Very easy. So we need a well-fed state. We need the presence of insulin. Very, very what? Important. And also ATP also inhibits this reaction. Excess amount of ATP inhibits the transition what? Step. And also excess amount of NADH2 forms excess ATP, which also inhibits the reaction. So very, very easy. So I hope it all made sense to you, and I hope you understand this very well. Use the illustration I gave in my write-up in the board. Always continue using it and continue understanding it. I hope you understand and it makes sense to you. So if you know you are just joining, like I always say, make sure to subscribe and turn your post notification button so that anytime I drop any video, you'll be sure to be notified. Now we'll be moving forward to the biochemical step of what TCA cycle. Watch through the video so that you will understand very well.